Let's talk about assisted dying. So the broadcaster Esther Ranson has said that she begs MPs to attend a debate in Parliament on assisted dying. It was triggered after over 200,000 people signed a petition calling for dying people to be able to ask for medical assistance to end their lives. MPs have begun the debate, but there will not be a binding vote. Here's Green Party MP Caroline Lucas in the House today outlining the case for assisted dying.
Some have argued that more resources for palliative care is the answer, and of course I want to see that. But even the best palliative care can't help everyone. And we've seen growing evidence from places like France and Queensland in Australia that the introduction of assisted dying can be a powerful catalyst to improve palliative care. So in closing, I want to say that I think palliative care needs more funding, the hospice movement needs more funding, but that doesn't take away from the importance of giving people choice at the end of life. I'm proud that the Green Party will commit to supporting a change in the law in our manifesto for the next general election. I hope very much that other parties will do the same.
That's Caroline Lucas speaking today. Jerry, let's come to you on this. It's probably just best, first of all, to set out what your position is on assisted dying.
It troubles me deeply. Look, I completely understand people who suffering from terminal illness, who've had a terminal illness for a long time, who have no prospect of recovery, who are suffering in many ways, both mentally and physically. I understand that a humane death, as it were, seems to them much more appealing than continuing until nature takes its course, and I do understand that. But Kate, we've seen in many countries now when they introduce measures like this, the incredible complexity, the moral complexity, and the disturbing tendency that is represented by what we mean by who is able to choose, who is choosing death for someone else, which is essentially what it can often mean. Now, I know we have things like living wills and everything else, but we're getting to the point here. We're seeing it in countries like Canada and countries like the Netherlands and elsewhere where these laws exist, where anybody who is people are made to feel a burden on their relatives or made to feel a burden on their communities, whatever. People who are suffering from mental health conditions, people who are deeply depressed, or suffering not from terminal illness, are being encouraged to seek assisted dying, as to be encouraged to being put to death. And that to me Kate, is a barbaric society that does that. That doesn't, I'm a profound believer in life. Again, I do very much understand the suffering that people go through and the reasons why they want to end that suffering. But when we get to a situation where we as a society make death make death an option, which
advertise death effectively.
doctors, relatives, all kinds of other people are encouraged to participate in, I think I really worry about what we are saying about ourselves as a society, and frankly, what we're saying about ourselves as human beings.
Peter, shouldn't we be able to have the choice, though?
Well, no, I don't think we should. This is literally a matter of life and death. It's a matter of making something which has previously been seen as grossly illegal legal. We have here a very interesting phenomenon. It happens actually all the time, particularly on the BBC. There are lots of debates in Westminster Hall resulting from petitions of 200,000 people about all kinds of subjects, but the BBC doesn't rush over and cover them. It's this that they rush over and cover. There seems to be something about this subject which attracts a certain type of liberal moral leftist. And it reminds me very strongly of the abortion debate of the 1960s. There are several things has in common. First of all, the difficulties of the present situation are hugely exaggerated. That is to say, the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists were actually asked to look into claims which are constantly being made that tens of thousands of illegal abortions were taking place every year in the 1960s. They couldn't find any evidence of it. Secondly, abortion was, this will surprise a lot of people, legal under certain circumstances before 1967 and taking place in quite significant numbers in National Health Service hospitals. It wasn't totally banned. And so all kinds of cases were made against it, so that the law was utterly liberalized. And we were told at the time that it would actually become rare, and it wasn't going to be a big thing, and lots of people wouldn't have abortions. Now we have, 180,000 abortions a year, and rising. And that's despite the fact that contraception is extremely readily available, and the morning after pill and all the rest of it keeps on going up. I think we have to be very careful that those who are putting this forward are not misrepresenting it. I believe, I don't think I'm giving anything away here, that quite a few people in British hospitals are gently helped on their way currently. I don't think it's officially assisted dying, but I think it does.
Yeah,
it does
and
go
in
on.
and in hospices too.
The
I
point is that
understand.
that under those circumstances, if somebody is found to have assisted somebody to die with a motive, then if they're prosecuted, they face a great deal of trouble. But can anybody tell me how many arrests, how many prosecutions, and how many trials there are in this country at the moment for people who assist somebody to die? I think you'll find the number is very small, because the authorities, when these things are brought to their attention, are often very open-minded about it. Would changing the law, and Jerry,
and it's not advertised, is it? It's just
that's also
it's just done in those situations. But I suppose
it's
people
not advertised. But the point is, as Jerry rightly points out, what's going on in Canada is quite disturbing. And would changing the law make us more humane, or would it make us more like Canada? And then would the problem be that old people would come under pressure because they themselves would believe that they were a burden to those in their lives, would come under pressure indeed from themselves to take part in this process, and I think that would be a grave step away from civilization and towards barbarism.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people will argue back. It's my choice. I would like the right to be able to look forward to the type of death I want, and I don't necessarily want that to involve suicide. There's also complexity, isn't there? Because some people just clearly will not be lucid enough when they are on their deathbed, and it is time for them to go, and they are inevitably going to go. That person will often not be lucid enough to actually make that decision. So
well, maybe so, but I'm very sceptical about the idea put forward in the debate today that the licensing assisted dying is going to make palliative care better, or increase the pressure for better palliative care in more hospices. I don't see how that would work. I think if the energy that was put in by the chattering classes into campaign for assisted dying was put into making more palliative care and more hospices available, I think we'd all be a lot better off. That's the point at which we can really make an enormous difference. They're incredibly successful, but there aren't enough of them.